Welcome to Whispers of RPG, where every corner hides a story deeper than the last. Today, we're diving into a world where shadows blend with mystery, and the line between what's real and what's not is thinner than ever. From the very first step you take, a single question pulls you into an adventure full of secrets and surprises. Ready to unravel the whispers that echo through the realm? Let's jump right in and uncover what lies beneath the surface. Seek pale blood to transcend the hunt. But what exactly is pale blood? This question has consumed the Bloodborne community for nearly a decade, spawning countless theories, interpretations, and analyses. Today, we delve deep into this central mystery, examining every clue, every reference, and every possible interpretation to understand the true nature of this elusive concept that drives our hunter's terrible quest. The mystery begins when we first encounter the term pale blood. It appears in the opening moments of the game. The blood minister, that ominous figure who administers our first transfusion, responds to something our hunter has said with knowing familiarity. Oh yes, pale blood. Well, you've come to the right place. Yharnam is the home of blood ministration. You need only unravel its mystery. This exchange reveals something crucial about our hunter's motivations. Unlike many from software protagonists who stumble into their destinies, the hunter in Bloodborne has come to Yharnam with a specific purpose, seeking pale blood. The blood minister's response suggests this isn't the first time he's heard such a request, and his immediate offer of a contract, something most blood ministers don't do, hints at the significance of what our hunter seeks. Upon awakening in Yusfa's clinic, we discover a handwritten note that reads, "Seek pale blood to transcend the hunt." The placement of this note is significant. It's the first item we can examine, establishing our primary objective before we even understand what the hunt entails. What's particularly interesting is that in the Japanese version of the game, it's made clear that this note was written by our hunter, meaning we knew of pale blood before arriving in Yharnam. This detail transforms our understanding of the hunter's journey from a quest for the unknown to a pilgrimage based on prior knowledge or desperation. The scholar's perspective. To understand pale blood, we must first examine the world that created the need for it. The tale begins not in the Victorian streets of Yharnam, but in the ancient halls of Byrgenworth College, where scholars pursued forbidden knowledge in the depths of the Thorin labyrinths. It was here that Willem Lawrence and their colleagues made the discovery that would reshape human civilization, the Old Blood. The healing church founded after this discovery built its entire doctrine around the transformative power of this ancient substance. Blood ministration became both sacrament and medicine, promising healing and transcendence to those who partook. But with this power came a terrible price. The old blood carried within it essence of beings so alien and incomprehensible that human minds could barely process their existence. The Great Ones. As the healing church grew in power and influence, so too did the corruption that festered within its ranks. Members began to transform into the very beasts they claimed to heal, and the city of Yharnam became a hunting ground where the line between human and monster grew increasingly thin. It was in this context of societal collapse and cosmic horror that the concept of pale blood emerged, not merely as a substance, but as a symbol of something beyond the corruption that had consumed everything else. The 5 references throughout Bloodborne. Pale blood is mentioned exactly 5 times. Each reference adding another layer to its mystery, while refusing to provide definitive answers. These mentions occur at key moments in our journey, serving as breadcrumbs leading us deeper into Yharnam's nightmare. The first reference, as we've established, comes from the blood minister during our initial transfusion. His immediate recognition of the term and confident assertion that Yharnam is the right place for such a search establishes the city as ground zero for whatever pale blood represents. The second reference appears in our conversation with Gilbert, the sickly outsider we encounter through a window in central Yharnam. When asked about pale blood, Gilbert responds with genuine confusion. Pale blood, you say? Never heard of it. But if it's blood you're interested in, you should try the healing church. This response is particularly revealing. Gilbert, like our hunter, is an outsider who came to Yharnam seeking the healing power of blood ministration. His ignorance of pale blood suggests it's not common knowledge, even among those who journey to Yharnam for blood healing. The third reference appears on a note in Yahagel pointing toward the sky and proclaiming, "Behold a pale blood sky." This note becomes meaningful only after we defeat Rome, the vacuous spider, and witness the blood moon's true revelation. The sky transforms into a pale, sickly color, the color of a body drained of blood, as Miyazaki himself has described it. The fourth reference comes from a note found in the lecture building on the 2nd floor. The nameless moon presence beckoned by Lawrence and his associates. Pale blood. This cryptic message directly connects pale blood to the moon presence, that terrifying entity we encounter in the game's true ending. The fifth and final reference appears in a note found in Bergenworth, which some scholars believe to be written by Wilm himself. This note again links the moon presence to pale blood, reinforcing the connection established in the lecture building. The blood minister's secret knowledge. The blood minister's immediate recognition of pale blood raises important questions about the nature of his knowledge. Unlike Gilbert, who represents the typical outsider seeking blood healing, the blood minister demonstrates familiarity with this esoteric concept. His insistence that our hunter sign a contract something he notes most blood ministers don't require, suggests that seeking pale blood places our hunter in a special category. This interaction implies that there exists a hidden network of knowledge within Yharnam's medical establishment, one that recognizes certain seekers as different from common pilgrims. The blood minister's confident assertion that Yharnam is the right place for pale blood suggests that whatever it is, it can be found within the city's twisted streets and nightmare-haunted institutions. The fact that he immediately offers blood ministration as a prerequisite for the hunt indicates that the path to pale blood requires transformation. The hunter cannot seek what they came for while remaining entirely human. They must first be changed by the old blood, made into something capable of surviving the hunt, and eventually confronting the cosmic entities that lurk behind Yharnam's facade of medical progress. The pale sky revelation, perhaps the most dramatic revelation about pale blood's nature, comes when we defeat Rome, the vacuous spider. This pivotal moment in the game tears away the veil that has hidden Yharnam's true horror from our perception. The moon, previously a distant celestial body, draws close to the earth and begins to bleed. The sky transforms into a pale, bloodless expanse that inspired the note we find in Yharnam. Director Hidetaka Miyazaki has explained that this pale sky represents the color of a body drained of blood. This imagery is crucial to understanding one interpretation of pale blood. If the sky has been drained of its blood, where has that blood gone? The obvious answer points to the massive bleeding moon that now dominates the heavens. A celestial entity that has drawn the very life force from the sky itself. This moment also reveals the amygdala that have been watching over us throughout our journey. These lesser great ones cling to buildings and loom over streets. Their presence, now undeniably visible, where before they existed only as a source of madness, inducing insight. The revelation that they have been present all along adds retrospective horror to every location we've visited, every street we've walked. We were never truly alone in Yharnam. We were always under the observation of entities whose mere presence can drive mortals insane. The moon presence connection. The most significant clue to pale blood's identity comes from the notes connecting it to the moon presence, that alien entity also known as Flora. This great one represents one of the most compelling interpretations of what pale blood actually is. The moon presence is described as the creature that comes from the moon under certain conditions, specifically the pale moon that appears after Ram's defeat. The moon presence's role in Bloodborne's cosmology cannot be overstated. According to a note found in the lecture building, this entity was beckoned by Lawrence and his associates, suggesting it was summoned rather than arriving of its own accord. The moon presence created the hunter's dream, and bound Gore to eternal servitude within it, using the space as a mechanism to recruit and train hunters for purposes that remain partially unclear. What we can observe is that the moon presence appears to use hunters as instruments for eliminating other great ones. Whether this serves to halt the scourge of the beast or fulfills some other cosmic agenda remains open to interpretation. The connection between the moon presence and pale blood gains additional weight when we consider that the same lecture-building note directly links the two. The nameless moon presence beckoned by Lawrence and his associates. Pale blood. This interpretation becomes particularly compelling when we consider the game's true ending. If we consume 1 to 3 of umbilical cord items and refuse Gore's offer of release, we face the moon presence in combat. Upon its defeat, we transcend humanity and become an infant great one ourselves. In this context, seeking pale blood to transcend the hunt could be interpreted as a literal description of the game's ultimate objective, confronting the moon presence to achieve transcendence. Assuming the moon presence represents what we've been seeking as pale blood. The moon presence's Japanese name, Tsukino, moon, reinforces its connection to the pale, bleeding moon that appears after Rome's death. This entity doesn't merely come from the moon. It is intimately connected to it, possibly even being the moon itself in some cosmic sense. The formless Great One theory. Another compelling interpretation of pale blood centers on Oedon, the formless Great One who exists only in voice and is symbolized by oozing blood. This theory, while more speculative, offers a fascinating alternative understanding of the game's central mystery. Oedon is unique among the Great Ones in that it lacks physical form. The Carol runes tell us that human or no, the oozing blood is a medium of the highest grade and the essence of the formless Great One Eudor. Both Eudor and his inadvertent worshippers surreptitiously seek the precious blood. This description establishes blood itself as Eudon's essence and medium for interacting with the material world. If we consider the possibility that Eudon's essence is blood itself, then pale blood might represent blood that has been drained of Eudon's influence. Blood that has been purified or separated from the formless entity's corrupting presence. In this reading, the pale sky drained of blood could represent a space from which Oedon's influence has been removed, leaving behind only the pale absence of what once was. This theory finds some support when we consider Eudon's documented role in the game's events. This Great One is responsible for the invisible impregnation of several characters, including Ariana and potentially the imposter Yusfa. Each of these pregnancies results in the birth of infant Great Ones who drop 1/3 of umbilical cord items when killed. The umbilical cords are specifically described as being necessary for communion with great ones, and are required to access the game's true ending. The connection becomes even more intriguing when we consider some theories that propose the moon presence itself might be a physical manifestation of Oedon, having achieved form through the accumulation of blood echoes fed through the hunter's dream. In this speculative reading, the doll serves as an intermediary through which Oedon collects the essence of fallen enemies, gradually building the physical form that we encounter as the moon presence. While this interpretation remains theoretical, it would explain several connections between Oedon symbolism and moon presence imagery found in the game's official artwork. The Old Hunters and the Hunt's origins. The law revealed in Bloodborne's DLC, The Old Hunters, adds crucial context to our understanding of pale blood. The expansion reveals that the hunt has ancient origins, predating the current crisis in Yharnam by generations. We learn of hunters like Gar and Lady Maria, who participated in the fishing hamlet massacre that may have triggered the cosmic retribution that now plagues the waking world. Lady Maria's story is particularly relevant to understanding the moon presence's motivations, though her connection to pale blood remains largely interpretive. As one of Garmin's students and a participant in the fishing hamlet massacre revealed in the Old Hunter DLC, Maria eventually came to despise the violence and bloodshed that defined the hunt. Her suicide and subsequent imprisonment in the hunter's nightmare could be seen as representing the cosmic justice visited upon those who participated in the massacre. German's creation of the doll in Maria's image and his subsequent summoning of the moon presence to give it life adds another layer to the pale blood mystery. The umbilical cord found in the abandoned old workshop specifically mentions that it precipitated the encounter with the pale moon which beckoned the hunters and conceived the hunter's dream. This directly connects the pale moon, and by extension pale blood, to the creation of the nightmare that has trapped Gur and countless hunters, blood, and transformation. To understand pale blood, we must also understand the role of blood in Bloodborne's cosmology. Blood serves as more than a simple medical treatment. It's a transformative substance that connects the physical and metaphysical worlds. The old blood discovered in the Thrian ruins carries within it the essence of the Great Ones, allowing humans to tap into cosmic power while risking their sanity and humanity. The Church's doctrine of blood ministration promised healing and transcendence, but it delivered transformation into something monstrous. The citizens of Yharnam, once healed by the old blood, began to change into beasts when exposed to the hunt's violence and the blood moon's influence. This transformation represents the fundamental instability of the old blood. It cannot simply heal. It must change. And change always carries the risk of losing what one was before. In this context, pale blood represents something different from the corrupting old blood. The pale color suggests blood that has been drained, purified, or separated from the entities that normally inhabit it. If the old blood is the medium through which great ones express their influence over the material world, then pale blood might represent blood freed from such influence, a pure state that allows for true transcendence rather than monstrous transformation. The hunter's true identity. The revelation that our hunter wrote the note in Yusuf's clinic raises important questions about their background and motivations. Unlike the typical outsider seeking blood healing, our hunter possesses prior knowledge of pale blood. This suggests they are not simply another patient seeking the healing church's services, but someone with a specific understanding of Yharnam's deeper mysteries. Several possibilities emerge from this revelation. Our hunter might be a former scholar from Bergenworth, someone who studied the cosmic entities and understood the true nature of the old blood's corruption. Alternatively, they might be connected to the original hunters who participated in the fishing hamlet massacre, seeking redemption or understanding of the cosmic forces they helped unleash. The hunter's ability to resist complete transformation into a beast, even while consuming vast quantities of old blood through blood vials and blood echoes, suggests an inherent resistance to corruption that sets them apart from ordinary humans. This resistance might be natural, or it might result from their prior knowledge of pale blood and its purifying properties. The doll's pale blood, an often overlooked clue to pale blood's nature, comes from examining the plain doll herself, created by Gur in the image of Lady Maria, and brought to life by the moon presence through an umbilical cord. The doll possesses what she describes as pure white pale blood. This description directly connects her to the concept of pale blood, suggesting that she might represent the purified state that seekers hope to achieve. The doll serves as our primary companion throughout the hunter's dream, using blood echoes to strengthen our hunter and offering comfort during the nightmare of the hunt. Her ability to channel blood echoes into meaningful power without corruption suggests that her pale blood represents a state of purity that allows for beneficial transformation rather than monstrous change. When we consider that the doll kneels before a gravestone and prays to Flora, the moon presence, for the hunter's protection and safety, we see a direct connection between pale blood, the doll's pure state, and the moon presence's ultimate goals. The doll might represent what pale blood can achieve: a being sustained by blood that has been purified of corruption, capable of growth and change without the loss of essential humanity. The Great One's agenda. Understanding pale blood requires understanding the motivations of the Great Ones themselves. These cosmic entities operate according to logic so alien that human minds can barely comprehend their goals. Yet certain patterns emerge from careful study of their actions. The consistent theme among great ones is their desire to produce offspring. As the game tells us, every great one loses its child and then yearns for a surrogate. This loss drives much of their interaction with humanity. They seek human surrogates to bear their children, but these pregnancies inevitably end in tragedy, producing infant great ones that die shortly after birth. The moon presence's creation of the hunter's dream might represent a different approach to this problem. Rather than seeking to impregnate human surrogates, it creates a mechanism for transforming existing humans into great ones through the accumulation of insight and the consumption of umbilical cords. In this reading, the entire structure of the hunt serves as a testing ground to identify humans capable of transcending their limitations and becoming suitable offspring. Pale blood in this context represents the final stage of this process, the pure state that allows for complete transcendence without the corruption that destroys lesser attempts. The hunter who successfully seeks pale blood and transcends the hunt becomes the child the moon presence has been seeking, finally breaking the cycle of loss that defines great one existence. The simulation theory, a provocative interpretation of Bloodborne's narrative, suggests that the Yharnam we experience during gameplay is not the physical city, but a simulation created by the moon presence to test and develop potential great one offspring. This theory, while speculative, offers a compelling explanation for many of the game's narrative inconsistencies and mysteries. The evidence for this interpretation begins with the timeline problems that plague any literal reading of the game's events. The hunter awakens in Yusfa's clinic and immediately encounters a city in full chaos, with the hunt already underway and beasts roaming the streets. Yet, various NPCs suggest that the hunt is a periodic event, not a constant state of affairs. This discrepancy makes more sense if the yarn we experience is a compressed, artificial version of events designed to rapidly test the hunter's capabilities. The hunter's dream itself supports this interpretation. Unlike the nightmares we encounter later in the game, which are clearly identified as separate dimensions, the hunter's dream is presented as our base of operations, a place from which we venture into the waking world. Yet the dream displays properties that suggest it's something more than a simple sanctuary. The doll's awareness of our progress, her ability to strengthen us using blood echoes, and her connection to the moon presence all suggest that the dream serves as a monitoring and development system. In this reading, pale blood represents the successful completion of the moon presence testing program. The hunter, who accumulates sufficient insight, consumes the necessary umbilical cords, and demonstrates the will to transcend human limitations, has proven themselves worthy of transformation into a great one. pale sky revealed after Rome's defeat represents the dissolution of the simulation's boundaries, revealing the cosmic reality that lies beneath the Victorian facade. The cosmic horror framework. Bloodborne draws heavily from H.P. Lovecraft's cosmic horror tradition, and understanding this influence is crucial to interpreting pale blood's significance. In Lovecraft's mythos, humanity's position in the universe is fundamentally precarious. We exist at the mercy of entities so vast and alien that our very perception of reality is shaped by our inability to comprehend their true nature. The Great Ones in Bloodborne embody this cosmic indifference. They don't hate humanity. We simply don't register as significant enough to merit their hatred. When they interact with humans, it's typically in service of their own incomprehensible goals, with human welfare being at best a secondary consideration. Pale blood, viewed through this lens, represents humanity's attempt to bridge the gap between our limited existence and the cosmic reality inhabited by the Great Ones. It's not simply a substance to be consumed or a goal to be achieved, but a state of being that transcends the fundamental limitations of human perception and existence. The process of seeking pale blood parallels the classic Lovecraftian journey from ignorance to enlightenment to transcendence or madness. Our hunter begins as an outsider seeking something they don't fully understand. Through the course of their journey, they accumulate insight, literally gaining knowledge of cosmic realities that most humans cannot perceive. Finally, in the game's true ending, they achieve complete transcendence, becoming something that is no longer recognizably human. The Pale Blood Hunt Analysis. The scholarly work known as the Pale Blood Hunt, written by a theorist known as Redgrave, represents one of the most comprehensive attempts to decode Bloodborne's mysteries. This 100-page analysis has become so influential within the community that many of its interpretations are treated as semi-canonical by players seeking to understand the game's deeper meanings. Redgrave's analysis focuses particularly on the connection between the hunter's personal journey and the cosmic forces that shape Yharnam's fate. The work argues that pale blood represents not a single substance or entity, but a concept that encompasses the entire process of transcending human limitations through confrontation with cosmic horror. According to this interpretation, the hunter's quest for pale blood is simultaneously a medical necessity. They suffer from an ailment that requires the old blood to treat, and a spiritual journey toward enlightenment. The pale color associated with pale blood suggests both the absence of corruption and the presence of a purity that cannot be achieved through ordinary means. The analysis also emphasizes the symbolic importance of the hunter's foreignness to Yharnam. As an outsider, they are not bound by the preconceptions and cultural limitations that trap the city's inhabitants. This freedom allows them to perceive truths that locals cannot see, and to pursue courses of action that would be unthinkable to those raised within the healing church's doctrine. The multiple interpretations. One of the most fascinating aspects of Paleblood as a narrative element is its resistance to singular interpretation. Miyazaki himself has acknowledged that the concept admits multiple valid readings, and the community has developed several major theories that each offer compelling explanations for the available evidence. The most literal interpretation suggests that pale blood is simply the blood of the moon presence, the pale colored life essence of the entity that controls the hunter's dream. In this reading, seeking pale blood means seeking direct contact with this great one, which we achieve in the game's true ending through combat and transcendence. A more metaphorical interpretation suggests that pale blood represents the state of purity that exists in the absence of the old blood's corruption. The pale sky revealed after Rome's defeat represents space, from which the corrupting influence of the Great Ones has been removed, leaving behind only the purified essence that allows for true healing, rather than monstrous transformation. A symbolic interpretation treats pale blood as representing enlightenment itself, the cosmic knowledge that allows humans to transcend their limitations and achieve understanding of the universe's true nature. The hunt becomes a process of education through violence, with each encounter teaching the hunter more about the cosmic forces that shape reality. Finally, a practical interpretation suggests that pale blood represents the specific biological conditions necessary for successful transformation into a great one. The hunter's apparent immunity to complete beast transformation, combined with their ability to consume umbilical cords and gain cosmic insight, marks them as possessing the pale blood necessary for transcendence. The Victorian medical context. Understanding pale blood also requires considering its meaning within Bloodborne's Victorian medical setting. The game's aesthetic and thematic elements draw heavily from 19th century medicine, particularly the era's fascination with blood as both a diagnostic tool and a therapeutic substance. During the Victorian era, bloodletting remained a common medical practice based on the belief that removing corrupt blood could restore health. Various blood conditions were also recognized as serious medical problems, with anemia, a condition characterized by pale, weak blood, being a particular concern. The hunter's search for pale blood might reflect a Victorian understanding of medical necessity, seeking a specific type of blood to treat a specific condition. The healing church's practice of blood ministration reflects this historical context, while adding supernatural elements that transform medicine into mysticism. The church's doctors, described as specialists in experimentally backed blood ministration represent the Victorian era's confidence in medical progress, combined with its willingness to experiment on human subjects in pursuit of knowledge. In this context, pale blood represents the ultimate medical achievement, a perfect form of therapeutic blood that can heal without the side effects that plague the old blood. The hunter's quest becomes a medical pilgrimage, seeking a cure that exists at the intersection of science and cosmic horror. The Byrgenworth connection. The scholars of Byrgenworth College play a crucial role in understanding Paleblood's significance. These academics, led by Master, will made the initial discoveries that led to the founding of the Healing Church and the subsequent crisis that engulfs Yharnam. Their approach to cosmic knowledge, seeking eyes on the inside to achieve enlightenment, provides important context for understanding what paler blood represents. William's faction believed that gaining insight into the Great One's nature would allow humanity to evolve beyond its current limitations. They sought to achieve this through meditation, study, and the gradual accumulation of cosmic knowledge. This approach contrasts sharply with the Healing Church's preference for blood ministration as a means of transformation. The note connecting pale blood to the nameless moon presence, beckoned by Lawrence and his associates, suggests that pale blood represents the Byrgenworth approach taken to its logical conclusion. Rather than seeking transformation through corruption, the Healing Church's method, pale blood, offers transcendence through purification, achieving cosmic awareness without losing essential humanity. The presence of the note in the lecture building, a location associated with Byrgenworth's research, reinforces this connection. The scholars who studied in these halls understood that true transcendence required more than simply consuming the old blood. It required achieving a state of purity that could withstand direct contact with cosmic entities. The hunt as purification. Viewing the hunt itself as a purification process offers another perspective on pale blood's nature. Throughout our journey, we eliminate corrupted beings, beasts that have succumbed to the old blood's transformative power, cosmic entities that have imposed their will on the material world, and humans who have lost their essential humanity to alien influences. Each successful hunt purifies both the hunter and the environment. By eliminating corrupted entities, we remove sources of pollution that prevent the achievement of pale blood's pure state. The blood echoes we collect from fallen enemies might represent the purified essence released when corruption is destroyed, gradually accumulating within us until we achieve the pale blood state necessary for transcendence. This interpretation suggests that pale blood isn't something we find, but something we become. Through the process of hunting, we gradually purify both ourselves and our environment until we achieve the state described as pale blood, a condition of purity that allows for direct communication with cosmic entities without corruption or transformation. The multiple infant great ones we encounter throughout the game support this reading. These beings born from human surrogates, impregnated by great ones, represent failed attempts at achieving the pure state necessary for successful transcendence. They die because they cannot achieve the balance between cosmic insight and essential humanity that pale blood represents. The umbilical cord connection. The 1/3 of umbilical cord items play a crucial role in understanding pale blood's true nature. These remnants of failed pregnancies between humans and great ones provide the cosmic insight necessary to perceive the moon presence and achieve transcendence. The fact that 3 are required suggests that achieving pale blood state requires accumulating sufficient cosmic essence to fundamentally alter our nature. Each umbilical cord comes from a different source, representing different aspects of the Great One's attempts to produce offspring. Ariana's child born after invisible impregnation by Oedon represents the formless Great One's approach to reproduction. The imposter Yusuka's experiment represents the healing Church's scientific approach to achieving cosmic transcendence. The child of Yharnam represents the ancient Thwan connection to the Great Ones that predates both the Church and Bergenworth. The cord found in the abandoned old workshop represents Gore's own attempt to create life through cosmic intervention. His use of an umbilical cord to animate the doll, and his subsequent summoning of the moon presence to give it true life. This cord precipitated the encounter with the pale moon, which beckoned the hunters and conceived the hunter's dream. Consuming these cords grants us the insight necessary to resist the moon presence's attempt to use us as a simple surrogate for Gore. We achieve enough cosmic awareness to be recognized as a potential Great One, rather than merely another tool to be manipulated. In this sense, the umbilical cords represent the components necessary to achieve pale blood state, cosmic essence that has been purified through tragedy and loss. The plain doll's role. The plain doll serves as more than a simple companion in the hunter's dream. She represents a successful example of what pale blood might achieve. Created by Gore in the image of Lady Maria and brought to life through the moon presence's power and an umbilical cord, the doll possesses the pure white pale blood that directly connects her to the concept we're seeking to understand. The doll's ability to channel blood echoes into beneficial transformation without corruption demonstrates the practical application of pale blood's purifying properties. She can strengthen us repeatedly without the risk of beast transformation that plagues other forms of blood consumption. Her pale blood allows her to serve as an intermediary between human and cosmic consciousness, capable of understanding both without being corrupted by either. Her prayers to Flora, the moon presence for the hunter's protection, reveal her awareness of the cosmic forces at work in our journey. She understands that the hunt serves a larger purpose and that our role extends beyond simply eliminating beasts and hostile entities. Her presence in the hunter's dream after we achieve transcendence suggests that pale blood state allows for continued existence and purpose beyond the limitations of mortal life. The doll's emotional development throughout the game, her gradual acquisition of a human heart, demonstrates that achieving pale blood doesn't require abandoning humanity entirely. Instead, it represents a state that can incorporate both human consciousness and cosmic awareness without the corruption that typically results from contact between mortal and divine. The cosmic political dimension, understanding pale blood, also requires recognizing the political dimensions of cosmic conflict that underlie Bloodborne's narrative. The Great Ones are not simply alien entities existing in isolation. They engage in complex relationships with each other and with the human civilizations they encounter. The Moon Presence's use of hunters to eliminate other Great Ones suggests that pale blood might represent a weapon in cosmic conflicts we can barely comprehend by creating and empowering hunters capable of destroying other Great Ones. The Moon Presence advances its own agenda while appearing to help humanity deal with the beast crisis. The elimination of MGO through the destruction of MGO's wetness represents a significant victory in this cosmic conflict. MGO, as Odor's child with Queen Yharn, represents a potential rival to the Moon Presence's influence over humanity. By engineering circumstances that lead to MGO's destruction, the Moon Presence eliminates both a personal rival and a competing source of cosmic influence. Pale blood in this interpretation represents the Moon Presence's ultimate triumph. The successful transformation of a human agent into a Great One loyal to its cause. The hunter who achieves transcendence becomes an ally rather than a tool capable of independent action, while remaining aligned with the Moon Presence's cosmic agenda. The fishing hamlet's significance. The events revealed in the Old Hunter DLC provide crucial context for understanding the cosmic forces that give rise to the need for pale blood. The massacre at the fishing hamlet represents humanity's first major transgression against the Great Ones, an act of violence that triggers the cosmic retribution now plaguing the waking world. CS, the Great One whose corpse washes up in the hamlet, represents both the victim of human aggression and the source of the curse that traps hunters in the nightmare. The villagers' worship of CS and their transformation into fish-like beings demonstrates the proper relationship between humans and Great Ones, one of reverence and gradual willing transformation rather than exploitation and violence. The hunters' desecration of CS' corpse and their slaughter of the hamlet's inhabitants represents the approach that led to disaster, using violence and exploitation to steal cosmic power, rather than seeking understanding and gradual transcendence. Lady Mariah's horror at these actions and her subsequent suicide demonstrate the psychological cost of this approach to cosmic entities. The orphan of CS, born from the violated corpse of its mother, represents the cosmic response to human transgression. Its existence as both victim and avenger embodies the contradictions that arise when mortals attempt to steal divine power through violence, rather than achieving it through purification and understanding. In this context, pale blood represents the correct approach to achieving cosmic transcendence, one that respects the alien nature of the Great Ones while seeking genuine understanding rather than exploitation. The hunter's journey toward pale blood reverses the errors made at the fishing hamlet, achieving unity with cosmic forces through purification rather than corruption. The language of blood. Blood serves as a universal language in Bloodborne's world, connecting human and cosmic consciousness through a shared medium that transcends species and dimensional boundaries. The old blood discovered in the Thumian ruins carries within it the memory and essence of the Great Ones, allowing humans to access cosmic knowledge and power while risking their essential humanity. Different types of blood convey different types of information and power. The corrupted blood that transforms humans into beasts carries messages of hunger, violence, and primal instinct. The refined blood used by the healing church attempts to filter these messages while preserving the transformative power, but ultimately fails to eliminate the corrupting influence entirely. Pale blood represents a perfected form of this communication. Blood that has been purified of all corrupting influences while retaining its capacity to bridge the gap between human and cosmic consciousness. The pale color suggests not the absence of information, but the presence of information so pure and refined that it appears colorless in comparison to the dark, corrupted blood that dominates Yharnam's medical practices. The hunter's gradual accumulation of blood echoes throughout their journey represents a process of learning this cosmic language. Each encounter with corrupted entities provides opportunities to extract purified essence from corrupted sources, gradually building toward the linguistic fluency necessary to communicate directly with Great Ones without being overwhelmed by their alien nature. The nightmare hierarchy. Bloodborne's multiple nightmare dimensions reveal a complex hierarchy of cosmic spaces, each serving different functions in the Great One's incomprehensible agenda. Understanding this hierarchy provides crucial context for interpreting pale blood's role in facilitating movement between these dimensional layers. The hunter's dream occupies a unique position in this hierarchy, unlike the hunter's nightmare, which serves as a prison for hunters who have committed cosmic transgressions, or the nightmare of Mensis, which represents humanity's attempt to contact great ones directly. The hunter's dream functions as a training ground and testing facility. The dream's connection to the waking world through lanterns and tombstones suggests that it exists in a liminal space between dimensions, allowing hunters to move between different levels of reality while maintaining their essential humanity. The presence of the doll, with her pale blood, provides a stabilizing influence that prevents hunters from being completely absorbed into cosmic consciousness during their visits to the dream. Pale blood in this context represents the key that allows for controlled movement between dimensional layers without losing one's essential nature. The hunter who achieves pale blood state gains the ability to exist simultaneously in multiple cosmic dimensions, while retaining enough human consciousness to make meaningful choices about their actions and allegiances. The various nightmare realms we encounter, from the nightmare frontier's alien landscapes to the hunter's nightmare's twisted recreation of familiar locations, represent different aspects of cosmic consciousness that must be understood and integrated to achieve true transcendence. Pale blood provides the purified medium through which this integration can occur without corruption or madness. The Thumerian legacy. The ancient Thumerian civilization that once flourished in the underground labyrinths beneath Yharnam provides important historical context for understanding humanity's relationship with the Great Ones. These people achieved a form of coexistence with cosmic entities that modern Yharnam has failed to replicate, offering insights into what pale blood might represent in terms of successful human Great One interaction. Queen Yharnam, the Thorin ruler who bore MGO after union with Oedon, represents both the potential and the tragedy of human Great One relationships. Her ability to conceive and carry a Great One's child demonstrates that humans can achieve the biological compatibility necessary for successful interaction with cosmic entities. However, the loss of MGO and her eternal grief show that even successful unions with Great Ones carry profound costs. The Thuramarian descendants we encounter in the Chalice dungeons have maintained some connection to their ancient civilization's knowledge, but they have also been corrupted by centuries of exposure to the old blood without proper understanding. Their bell-ringing rituals and beast-summoning practices represent degraded fragments of more sophisticated cosmic communication techniques that have been lost to time. The discovery of the old blood in Thumian ruins by Bergenworth scholars represents humanity's attempt to reclaim this lost knowledge without understanding its proper context. The scholars approached the old blood as a substance to be studied and exploited, rather than as a medium for gradual, respectful communication with cosmic entities. Pale blood might represent the proper Thumerian approach to cosmic interaction, a state of purity and preparation that allows for meaningful communication with great ones without the corruption that has plagued more recent attempts. The hunter's quest becomes a journey to rediscover and perfect the ancient techniques that once allowed humans and cosmic entities to coexist. The insight mechanism. The game's insight system provides crucial mechanical and narrative context for understanding how pale blood functions within Bloodborne's cosmic framework. Insight represents the hunter's gradual accumulation of cosmic knowledge and awareness, fundamentally altering their perception of reality as it increases. Low insight levels allow the hunter to function in a relatively normal world where cosmic horrors remain largely invisible. As insight increases, previously hidden entities become visible, new threats emerge, and familiar locations reveal previously concealed aspects. This progression mirrors the classic Lovecraftian journey from ignorance to enlightenment, with each level of awareness bringing both greater understanding and greater danger. The relationship between insight and beast transformation reveals one of Paleblood's most important functions. While most humans who gain cosmic knowledge eventually succumb to madness or transformation, the hunter maintains their essential humanity, even while accumulating insight that would destroy ordinary minds. This resistance suggests that the hunter possesses or develops some form of natural immunity to cosmic corruption. Pale blood might represent the biological or spiritual condition that allows for this immunity, rather than being a substance to be consumed. It could be a state of being that enables the safe accumulation of cosmic knowledge without the mental degradation that typically results from contact with great ones. The 3 umbilical cords required for the true ending represent the minimum threshold of cosmic essence necessary to achieve this state. By consuming cords from different sources, representing different approaches to great one interaction, the hunter synthesizes a complete understanding that enables direct confrontation with the moon presence without being overwhelmed by its alien nature. The blood moon's revelation. The appearance of the blood moon after Rome's defeat represents one of the most significant revelations in Bloodborne's narrative, fundamentally altering both the hunter's perception of reality and the mechanical systems that govern gameplay. Understanding this transformation is crucial to interpreting what pale blood represents in the game's cosmic framework. Rome, the vacuous spider, serves as a cosmic sensor, maintaining an illusion that shields human consciousness from the full horror of Yharnam's situation. Her presence keeps the blood moon hidden, the amygdala invisible, and the true extent of the city's cosmic infestation concealed from mortal perception. The scholars of Bergenworth created Rome through a ritual that transformed a human student into a great one. Specifically, to serve this protective function. When we destroy Rome, we tear away this protective veil and expose Yharnam to the full influence of cosmic entities. The blood moon emerges, casting its pale light over a city now revealed to be thoroughly infested with alien presences. The amygdala that have been watching from buildings throughout our journey become visible, their cosmic attention now directly focused on the mortals below. This revelation transforms the note found in Yharnam from cryptic message to clear description. Behold a pale blood sky. The sky has indeed become pale, drained of its natural color by the massive bleeding moon that now dominates the heavens. Director Miyazaki's description of the sky as resembling a body drained of blood provides direct insight into what pale blood represents. The absence left behind when cosmic entities have drawn away the vital essence that once sustained normal reality. The transformation of enemy behavior after this revelation supports the interpretation that pale blood represents a state of cosmic awareness that fundamentally alters the nature of reality. Enemies become more aggressive and dangerous. New threats emerge, and previously safe areas become hostile environments. The hunter must adapt to operating in a world where cosmic forces are no longer concealed behind comfortable illusions. The church's veiled approach, the healing church's approach to managing cosmic knowledge and power, provides a cautionary tale about the wrong ways to seek transcendence. Understanding their failures helps illuminate what pale blood represents as an alternative approach to achieving cosmic awareness without corruption. The Church built its entire doctrine around the transformative power of the old blood, promising healing and enlightenment to those who participated in blood ministration. However, their approach fundamentally misunderstood the nature of cosmic entities and the proper relationship between human and divine consciousness. Rather than seeking gradual purification and understanding, the Church attempted to exploit cosmic power for immediate practical benefits. They used the old blood as medicine without understanding its spiritual dimensions, treated great ones as sources of power rather than entities deserving respect, and prioritized institutional growth over genuine enlightenment. The corruption that eventually consumed the Church's hierarchy demonstrates the inevitable result of this approach. Members transformed into the very beasts they claimed to heal, their minds twisted by exposure to cosmic influences they were not prepared to understand. The cleric beast that guards the great bridge represents the ultimate fate of Church leadership: transformation into monsters that parody their former human nature. Music Vicar Amelia's transformation during our encounter with her reveals the Church's fundamental delusion. Even as she changes into a beast before our eyes, she continues to pray to the old blood for guidance and protection. Unable to recognize that the source of her supposed salvation is actually the cause of her corruption. The Black Church Hunters, elite warriors trained to eliminate the beasts created by the Church's own practices, represent the institution's desperate attempt to manage the consequences of their theological errors. These hunters, including Father Gascoigne, eventually succumb to the very corruption they were trained to combat, becoming part of the problem they were meant to solve. Pale blood represents the opposite of the Church's approach: purification rather than corruption, gradual understanding rather than immediate exploitation, respect for cosmic entities rather than attempts to use them as tools. The hunter's journey toward pale blood reverses the errors that led to the Church's downfall. The Canhurst connection. The conflict between the healing church and the nobles of Canhurst Castle provides additional context for understanding different approaches to cosmic power, and what pale blood might represent as a pure alternative to corrupted blood practices. Canehurst's vile bloods developed their own relationship with blood consumption, focusing on the vampiric absorption of blood from other humans rather than direct consumption of the old blood. Their practices, while violent and parasitic, avoided some of the cosmic corruption that plagued the healing church by remaining focused on human rather than divine essence. Queen Annalise, the immortal ruler of Canhurst, represents a successful fusion of human consciousness with blood-based power that maintains essential humanity while transcending mortal limitations. Her ability to survive decapitation and resurrection suggests that the vile blood approach, while morally questionable, achieved a form of stability that the Church's methods could not match. The Church's persecution of the vile bloods, led by the executioners under Ligarius, represents institutional opposition to alternative approaches to blood-based power. The Church could not tolerate the existence of successful blood practices that operated outside their doctrinal framework, particularly ones that achieved results without requiring submission to church authority. Ligarius's eternal vigil over Aenlus's prison demonstrates the Church's recognition that the vile blood approach posed a genuine threat to their monopoly on blood ministration. His transformation into an undead guardian shows that even church champions were ultimately corrupted by prolonged exposure to cosmic influences despite their faith in their own righteousness. The child of blood that Annalise seeks to conceive represents the vile blood approach to achieving cosmic transcendence, creating new life that combines human and divine elements without the corruption that characterizes church practices. This child would presumably possess the pure blood necessary to bridge human and cosmic consciousness without the beast transformation that plagues other approaches. In this context, pale blood might represent the perfected version of what both the church and the vile bloods were attempting to achieve: a state of blood purity that enables cosmic awareness without corruption, transcendence without loss of essential humanity. The Scholar's Dilemma. Master Willam and his followers at Byrgenwerth represent a third approach to achieving cosmic enlightenment, one that emphasizes intellectual understanding over physical transformation. Their pursuit of eyes on the inside offers important insights into what pale blood might represent as a synthesis of different approaches to transcendence. William's famous declaration that we are thinking on the basis of planes reflects his understanding that human consciousness operates at a level too primitive to comprehend cosmic reality without fundamental alteration. His research focused on expanding human cognitive capacity to match the intellectual sophistication of the great ones, believing that understanding would lead to successful transcendence. The creation of Rome, the vacuous spider, represents William's most significant achievement and his greatest failure. The ritual that transformed a human student into a great one succeeded in granting cosmic awareness, but at the cost of intelligence and agency. Rome achieved the transcendence William sought, but lost the human consciousness that made such transcendence meaningful. William's own transformation into the decrepit figure we encounter in Byrgenwerth demonstrates the limitations of his approach. His pursuit of cosmic knowledge without proper preparation led to physical decay and mental fragmentation, leaving him as a cautionary example of premature contact with forces beyond human comprehension. The lake rune associated with William's teachings describes the mind as a body of water, suggesting that achieving cosmic awareness requires maintaining fluidity and adaptability rather than rigid adherence to human cognitive patterns. This metaphor points toward pale blood as representing a state of mental and spiritual flexibility that allows for safe interaction with cosmic entities. The students who followed William's teachings generally met tragic fates, transformed into kin, or driven insane by exposure to cosmic knowledge they were not prepared to integrate. Their failures demonstrate that intellectual understanding alone is insufficient for achieving successful transcendence without corruption. Pale blood in this context might represent the synthesis William sought, a state that combines intellectual understanding with spiritual purification and physical preparation, allowing for complete transcendence without the loss of essential humanity that characterized his students' transformations. The hunt, a spiritual journey. Viewing the hunt as a spiritual journey rather than simply a monster elimination campaign provides crucial insights into how the quest for pale blood functions as a process of purification and enlightenment. Each encounter serves not only to remove corrupted entities from the world, but also to refine the hunter's understanding of cosmic reality. The progression from central Yharnam street-level beasts to to the cosmic entities we encounter in nightmare dimensions represents a journey through increasingly profound levels of spiritual corruption. Early enemies represent humans who have succumbed to the beast curse, their transformation reflecting the basest impulses released by cosmic exposure. Later enemies embody more sophisticated forms of corruption, including humans who have achieved partial transcendence without proper preparation. The boss encounters throughout this journey serve as spiritual tests, each one requiring the hunter to confront different aspects of cosmic horror while maintaining their essential humanity. Father Gascoigne represents the tragedy of corruption, consuming those who sought to protect others. Vica Amelia embodies the failure of institutional faith to provide genuine salvation. The shadow of Yharnam demonstrates the cosmic retribution that follows human transgression against great ones. Blood echoes collected from defeated enemies represent more than simple experience points. They embody the purified essence extracted from corrupted beings through the process of righteous violence. The doll's ability to channel these echoes into beneficial transformation demonstrates that properly directed violence can serve as a tool for spiritual purification rather than simple destruction. The hunter's gradual accumulation of cosmic insight through witnessing increasingly alien horrors parallels traditional spiritual journeys, where the seeker must confront progressively more challenging aspects of reality to achieve enlightenment. The risk of madness or corruption represents the danger that faces anyone who attempts such a journey without proper preparation or guidance. Pale blood in this interpretation represents the successful completion of this spiritual journey, a state of purification and understanding that allows the hunter to interact directly with cosmic entities without being overwhelmed by their alien nature. The transcendence achieved in the true ending demonstrates that the journey, while dangerous, can lead to genuine enlightenment rather than corruption or madness. The ritual circle. The various ritual circles found throughout Bloodborne provide physical representations of the ceremonies used to contact cosmic entities, offering insights into the proper methods for achieving the communion that pale blood represents. Understanding these rituals helps illuminate the difference between successful and failed approaches to transcendence. The Mensis ritual conducted by Miklash and his followers represents humanity's most ambitious attempt to contact a great one directly. The massive ritual circle, hidden beneath Yharnam, demonstrates the scale of preparation necessary for such contact, involving the sacrifice of an entire district's population to generate sufficient spiritual energy. However, the ritual's failure, evidenced by Michelash's imprisonment in the nightmare, and the brain of Mensis' malevolent influence, demonstrates the dangers of attempting cosmic contact without proper understanding or preparation. The school of Mensis sought to command great ones rather than commune with them, treating cosmic entities as sources of power to be exploited rather than beings to be respected. The summoning circle in the Forbidden Woods, where we encounter the shadow of Yharnam, represents a different approach to cosmic ritual. This ceremony appears to be defensive rather than inquisitive, designed to bind cosmic entities rather than gain power from them. The shadow's role as guardians suggests that this ritual succeeded in its limited objectives, though at the cost of the summoner's humanity. The ritual circle at the center of the hunter's dream, marked by the doll's location and surrounded by the graves of fallen hunters, represents a more successful approach to cosmic communion. This space facilitates beneficial interaction between human and cosmic consciousness, allowing hunters to grow stronger without losing their essential nature. The moon presence's eventual manifestation in this space, following German's defeat, demonstrates that the dream's ritual circle was designed to enable direct contact with this specific Great One. The circle's success in facilitating transcendence rather than corruption suggests that it incorporates the proper understanding and preparation that other rituals lacked. Pale blood might represent the spiritual state that enables successful participation in such rituals, a condition of purity and preparation that allows humans to engage in cosmic ceremonies without being destroyed by the forces they invoke. The Forbidden Woods secrets. The Forbidden Woods serve as a transitional space between Yharnam's urban corruption and the cosmic horrors that lie beyond, providing crucial insights into the natural processes that pale blood might represent as a purifying force. The transformation of the woods inhabitants into snake-like creatures suggests that proximity to cosmic forces produces biological changes that reflect the alien nature of the entities involved. These changes, while disturbing, appear more stable than the beast transformations that plague Yharnam's human population, suggesting that the wood's more natural environment provides some protection against the most severe forms of corruption. The village, hidden within the woods, populated by creatures that retain some semblance of human organization despite their physical transformation, demonstrates that cosmic exposure doesn't inevitably lead to complete loss of consciousness or community. The inhabitants' ability to coordinate attacks and maintain their settlement suggests that transformation can occur without total dehumanization. The poison pools that dot the woods landscape represent the physical manifestation of cosmic corruption seeping into the natural world. However, the wood's continued vitality, despite this contamination, suggests that natural processes possess some capacity for processing and neutralizing cosmic influences, given sufficient time and space. The ritual sites scattered throughout the woods, including the summoning circle where we encounter the shadow of Yharnam, indicate that the area has been used for cosmic ceremonies for an extended period. The wood's apparent stability, despite this history of ritual activity, suggests that natural environments may be more resilient to cosmic influence than urban areas with their concentrated populations and artificial structures. The snake-like transformation experienced by the wood's inhabitants might represent a more successful adaptation to cosmic influence than the beast curse that affects Yharnam's population. The snake's symbolic association with wisdom and renewal in many mythological traditions suggests that their transformation, while alien, might represent a form of evolutionary advancement rather than simple corruption. Pale blood in this context might represent the natural state that allows for successful adaptation to cosmic influence, a condition of organic purity that enables beneficial transformation rather than corrupting mutation. The hunter's ability to traverse the woods without transformation suggests that they possess or develop this natural resistance to cosmic corruption. The cosmic pregnancy theme. The theme of pregnancy and birth runs throughout Bloodborne's narrative, providing crucial insights into what Paleblood represents in terms of successful creation and nurturing of new life forms that bridge human and cosmic consciousness. Every great one we encounter has lost their child, creating a universe populated by cosmic entities driven by parental grief and the desperate desire to replace what they have lost. This universal loss suggests that the normal processes of Great One reproduction have been disrupted, possibly by cosmic conflicts or environmental changes that make successful child rearing impossible. The various human pregnancies we witness throughout the game represent attempts to address this cosmic fertility crisis. Through cross-species reproduction, Ariana's invisible impregnation by Oedon produces an infant Great One that dies shortly after birth, continuing the cycle of loss that defines Great One existence. The imposter Yosfa's experiments appear designed to facilitate such pregnancies through scientific intervention. Queen Yharnam's ancient pregnancy with MGO represents the most successful human Great One reproduction we encounter, though even this union ultimately ended in tragedy with the child's death and the queen's eternal grief. The fact that MGO's consciousness persists in nightmare form suggests that this pregnancy achieved something that more recent attempts have failed to replicate. The umbilical cords that remain from these failed pregnancies serve as vessels for cosmic power and knowledge, containing the essence of the failed unions between human and divine consciousness. The cord's ability to grant insight and enable transcendence suggests that they preserve the potential for successful unity between mortal and cosmic awareness. The hunter's consumption of 3 umbilical cords enables them to resist the moon presence's attempt to use them as a simple replacement for gore. Instead, the hunter achieves the transcendence that the failed pregnancies were meant to accomplish, becoming an infant great one capable of continued growth and development rather than immediate death. Pale blood might represent the biological or spiritual condition necessary for successful cosmic pregnancy and birth, rather than the corrupted blood that characterizes failed attempts at transcendence. Pale blood could be the purified essence that enables successful fusion of human and cosmic consciousness without the corruption that destroys lesser attempts. The workshop's legacy. The hunter's workshop, both in its current state within the dream and its abandoned physical counterpart, provides crucial insights into the institutional framework necessary for successful cosmic interaction and what pale blood represents within this context. German's role as the first hunter establishes him as the architect of humanity's current relationship with cosmic entities. His creation of the workshop as a training ground for hunters represents an attempt to systematize and control the process of cosmic exposure, creating structured methods for developing the skills and knowledge necessary for survival in a world influenced by great ones. The weapons maintained within the workshop represent refined techniques for combating cosmic corruption, each one designed to exploit specific weaknesses in corrupted entities or to channel cosmic forces for beneficial purposes. The variety of weapons available suggests that successful cosmic interaction requires adaptability and specialized knowledge rather than reliance on a single approach. The doll's presence in the workshop, animated by the moon presence through an umbilical cord, demonstrates the workshop's function as a space where cosmic and human consciousness can interact safely. Her ability to strengthen hunters through blood echo channeling represents a successful application of cosmic power that benefits humans without corrupting them. The abandoned physical workshop, hidden beneath the current dream version, provides evidence of the workshop's evolution over time. The umbilical cord found there, the same cord used to animate the doll and contact the moon presence, suggests that the workshop's cosmic connections have deep historical roots predating the current crisis. The third umbilical cord's description reveals that it precipitated the encounter with the pale moon, which beckoned the hunters and conceived the hunter's dream. This directly connects the workshop's founding to the phenomena associated with pale blood, suggesting that the entire institution was created to facilitate the kind of transcendence that pale blood represents. The workshop's function as both training ground and testing facility demonstrates that achieving pale blood requires more than individual effort. It requires institutional support and systematic preparation. The hunter's journey through the dream waking world follows paths established by the workshop's founders, benefiting from their accumulated knowledge and experience. The Yharnam Queen's Tragedy. Queen Yharnam, the ancient Thorian ruler whose union with Oedon produced MGO, represents both the potential and the tragedy inherent in human Great One relationships. Understanding her story provides crucial context for what pale blood might represent as a solution to the cosmic fertility crisis that drives much of Bloodborne's narrative. The Queen's ability to conceive and carry Oedon's child demonstrates that successful reproduction between humans and Great Ones is theoretically possible. Her Thumerian heritage suggests that ancient human civilizations possessed knowledge or characteristics that enabled such unions, knowledge that has been lost to modern humanity despite their technological and medical advances. The Queen's eternal grief over Margot's loss reveals the personal cost of cosmic reproduction, even when the biological process succeeds. Her spectral appearances throughout the game, weeping over her lost child, demonstrate that the emotional bonds formed during such pregnancies persist even after death, creating supernatural manifestations of parental love and loss. The fact that MGO's consciousness survives in nightmare form suggests that the Queen's pregnancy achieved a form of cosmic transcendence that more recent attempts have failed to replicate. While MGO may be physically dead, their existence as a source of nightmare power indicates that some aspect of the cosmic fusion was successful. The Queen's connection to the Chalice dungeons and the ancient Thumerian civilization provides historical context for understanding successful human Great One relationships. The Thumerians appear to have developed stable methods for cosmic interaction that avoided the corruption that characterizes more recent attempts. The Queen's blood, presumably still flowing through Thrian bloodlines, including the vile bloods of Canhurst, might carry genetic or spiritual characteristics that enable successful cosmic reproduction. Analyze's quest to bear the child of blood suggests that Thumerian heritage remains relevant to achieving successful transcendence. Pale blood might represent the pure essence that enabled the Queen's successful pregnancy with MGO, a state of spiritual and biological preparation that allows for cosmic reproduction without the corruption that destroys more recent attempts. The hunter's quest to seek pale blood might be an unconscious attempt to rediscover the conditions that made the Queen's union with Oedon possible. The moon's influence. The moon serves as a central symbol throughout Bloodborne, representing the cosmic forces that influence human behavior and the cyclical nature of the hunt itself. Understanding the moon's various phases and influences provides crucial insights into what pale blood represents as a cosmic phenomenon. During normal gameplay, the moon appears as a distant, pale presence that provides minimal illumination to Yharnam's dark streets. This phase represents the concealed state of cosmic influence, present but not immediately threatening, providing just enough light to navigate while hiding the true extent of cosmic horror that surrounds the hunter. The transformation that occurs after Rome's defeat reveals the moon's true nature as a massive bleeding celestial body that dominates the sky with its crimson radiance. This blood moon represents the unveiled influence of cosmic entities, no longer filtered through protective illusions, but directly affecting the material world with its alien presence. The blood moon's effect on human behavior, increasing aggression, accelerating beast transformation, and enabling cosmic pregnancies, demonstrates the moon's role as a catalyst for change. The moon doesn't simply observe human affairs. It actively influences them, serving as a transmission medium for cosmic will and power. The note describing a pale blood sky specifically references the moon's effect on atmospheric conditions. The sky pale color results from the blood moon's influence, suggesting that pale blood represents the residual effect left behind when cosmic entities interact with the material world. The moon presence's connection to this celestial body indicates that the physical moon serves as either a manifestation of this great one's power or a vehicle for its influence over the material world. The creature's ability to manifest physically during the final confrontation suggests that the boundary between symbolic and literal cosmic presence is permeable. The hunter's ability to maintain their humanity despite prolonged exposure to the blood moon's influence suggests that they possess some form of natural resistance to cosmic corruption. This resistance might represent the pale blood state, a condition of purity that enables beneficial interaction with cosmic forces without the corruption that affects other humans. The dream logic. The hunter's dream operates according to principles that differ fundamentally from those governing the waking world, providing insights into the alternative reality structures that pale blood might enable or represent. Within the dream, death loses its permanent character, allowing hunters to return repeatedly to confront challenges that would normally end their existence. This resurrection mechanism suggests that the dream operates according to cosmic rather than physical laws, treating consciousness as more fundamental than material existence. The doll's presence in the dream as a living being created through cosmic intervention demonstrates that the dream can sustain forms of life that would be impossible in the material world. Her pure pale blood enables her to exist as a bridge between human and cosmic consciousness, facilitating communication and growth without corruption. The workshop contained within the dream provides access to weapons and tools that channel cosmic forces for beneficial purposes, suggesting that the dream's environment enables the safe manipulation of energies that would be dangerous or impossible to control in the waking world. The messengers that carry items and messages throughout the dream represent a form of cosmic communication that transcends normal spatial and temporal limitations. Their ability to connect hunters across different dimensions suggests that the dream serves as a central hub for cosmic interaction. The gravestones marking the various locations accessible from the dream demonstrate that the space exists simultaneously across multiple dimensions and time periods, allowing hunters to access locations and events that might otherwise be unreachable or temporally distant. The dream's connection to the blood moon, revealed through the moon, presence's eventual manifestation. There suggests that this space was specifically designed to facilitate contact with this particular Great One. The dream structure and properties appear optimized for enabling the kind of transcendence that pale blood represents. The hunter's eventual transcendence within the dream, becoming an infant Great One while retaining their essential consciousness, demonstrates that the dream can successfully facilitate cosmic transformation without the corruption that characterizes similar attempts in the material world. The sound of silence. The absence of sound in certain crucial moments throughout Bloodborne provides important clues about the nature of cosmic communication and what pale blood might represent as a pure form of such interaction. Emgo's cry, which can be heard throughout the nightmare of Mensis, but stops abruptly when we defeat MGO's wet nurse, represents the end of a cosmic communication that has been disrupting reality through its very existence. The silence that follows doesn't represent death, but the completion of a cosmic process that was causing ongoing disturbance. The moments of complete silence that punctuate boss encounters, particularly with Great Ones, suggest that true cosmic communication transcends normal sensory perception. These silent moments might represent instances when cosmic consciousness directly interfaces with human awareness without the mediation of physical senses. The doll's prayers to Flora, spoken in moments of quiet contemplation, demonstrate that successful cosmic communication often occurs in silence rather than through dramatic ritual or ceremony. Her ability to maintain contact with the moon presence through simple, respectful acknowledgement suggests that pale blood might represent a state of receptivity rather than active seeking. The hunter's gradual loss of human speech as they accumulate insight, eventually communicating primarily through actions rather than words, mirrors the progression toward cosmic consciousness that operates beyond linguistic limitation. This evolution suggests that achieving pale blood involves transcending human communication methods in favor of more direct forms of consciousness interface. The workshop's quiet atmosphere, broken only by the sounds of weapon maintenance and the doll's gentle movements, creates a space where cosmic and human consciousness can coexist peacefully. This environment might represent the conditions necessary for achieving pale blood, a state of receptive silence that enables cosmic communion without corruption. The blood moon's influence, while visually dramatic, operates primarily through silent alteration of atmospheric and psychological conditions rather than direct communication. This subtle approach to cosmic influence suggests that pale blood might function through similarly quiet processes that gradually transform rather than dramatically overwhelm human consciousness. The final revelation. As our analysis draws to its conclusion, we must acknowledge that pale blood's true nature resists singular definition. Like many elements in From Software's narratives, it functions simultaneously as plot device, spiritual concept, biological substance, and cosmic principle. The beauty of Bloodborne's storytelling lies not in providing definitive answers, but in creating a mystery rich enough to support multiple valid interpretations. The most literal interpretation suggests that pale blood is simply the blood of the moon presence, the pale life essence of the cosmic entity that controls the hunter's dream. This reading treats the hunter's quest as a straightforward journey toward confronting this great one, with transcendence achieved through direct combat and victory over cosmic power. The purification interpretation treats pale blood as representing blood that has been cleansed of cosmic corruption, a pure state that enables beneficial interaction with great ones without the risk of beast transformation or madness. In this reading, the hunter's journey involves gradually purifying themselves and their environment until they achieve the pristine condition necessary for cosmic transcendence. The symbolic interpretation views pale blood as representing enlightenment itself, the cosmic awareness that allows humans to understand their true place in the universe and transcend the limitations of mortal existence. The hunt becomes a process of education through experience, with each encounter teaching valuable lessons about cosmic reality. The biological interpretation suggests that pale blood represents specific genetic or spiritual characteristics that enable successful transformation into a great one. The hunter possesses or develops these characteristics through their journey, eventually achieving the compatibility necessary for cosmic transcendence without corruption. The institutional interpretation treats pale blood as representing the successful systematization of cosmic knowledge, the creation of stable methods for human Great One interaction that avoid the disasters that have befallen previous attempts. The hunter's dream and its associated workshop represent humanity's first successful approach to managing cosmic influence. Perhaps most compelling is the synthesis interpretation that combines elements from all these approaches. In this reading, pale blood represents the convergence of biological compatibility spiritual purification, cosmic knowledge, institutional support, and personal transcendence. A perfect storm of conditions that enables the impossible fusion of human and cosmic consciousness. The hunter's legacy. Whether we achieve the true ending and transcend into an infant great one, accept Gor's mercy and return to the waking world, or replace him as the dream's guardian, our hunter's journey represents a fundamental shift in humanity's relationship with cosmic entities. The very fact that we can seek pale blood and survive the attempt marks us as different from the countless others who have been destroyed by contact with forces beyond their comprehension. The knowledge we accumulate, the insights we gain, and the transformations we undergo create a legacy that extends beyond our individual story. Each hunter who enters the dream benefits from the accumulated experience of those who came before, building upon previous discoveries and failures to push the boundaries of what human consciousness can achieve. The weapons we master, the techniques we develop, and the cosmic entities we defeat become part of the workshop's institutional knowledge, available to future hunters who will face similar challenges. Our success or failure contributes to humanity's growing understanding of how to interact with cosmic forces without being destroyed by them. The blood echoes we leave behind, the messages we inscribe, and the paths we forge through Yharnam's nightmare landscape create a network of guidance for those who follow. Our journey toward pale blood becomes part of a larger cosmic conversation between human and divine consciousness. In the end, perhaps the true nature of pale blood matters less than the journey undertaken to seek it. The process of confronting cosmic horror while maintaining essential humanity, of pursuing transcendence without abandoning compassion, of seeking power without succumbing to corruption. These challenges define what it means to be human in a universe populated by incomprehensible entities. The pale blood we seek might exist within us from the beginning, waiting to be revealed through trials that strip away everything non-essential until only the pure core remains. Or it might be something we create through our actions, building toward transcendence through each choice to maintain our humanity while confronting the inhuman. The quest itself transforms us, making us worthy of the transcendence we seek, the eternal questions. Even after this exhaustive analysis, fundamental questions about pale blood remain unanswered, and perhaps they are meant to remain so. Miyazaki has stated that he deliberately leaves room for interpretation in his narratives, encouraging players to fill in the blanks with their own understanding and imagination. Is pale blood a substance that exists independently in the world, waiting to be discovered by those wise enough to seek it? Or is it a state of being that emerges from the proper combination of knowledge, purification, and cosmic exposure? Does it represent humanity's salvation from cosmic horror, or our evolution into something that transcends the need for salvation. The questions multiply rather than resolve as we delve deeper into the mystery. Each answer we discover generates new uncertainties. Each solution creates new puzzles to solve. This endless recursion of mystery and revelation mirrors the cosmic horror tradition from which Bloodborne draws its inspiration. The more we learn about the universe, the more we realize how little we truly understand. The community's ongoing debates about pale blood's nature, now nearly a decade after the game's release, demonstrate the richness of the mystery Miyazaki and his team created. Theories continue to evolve. New interpretations emerge, and passionate discussions about evidence and symbolism show no signs of ending. This intellectual vitality suggests that pale blood succeeds in its function as a narrative element, regardless of which interpretation proves correct. The scholar's conclusion. After examining every reference, analyzing every connection, and exploring every possible interpretation, what can we definitively conclude about pale blood's true identity? The honest answer is that we cannot reach a single definitive conclusion. And this uncertainty appears to be intentional. Pale blood functions as what literary theorists might call a floating signifier, a symbol that generates meaning through its connections to other elements rather than through any fixed definition. It points simultaneously toward the moon presence, the purified sky, the doll's pure blood, the state of cosmic enlightenment, and the biological conditions necessary for transcendence, without ever fully committing to any single interpretation. This ambiguity serves multiple narrative functions. It allows players to project their own understanding onto the central mystery, making each player's journey feel personally meaningful rather than predetermined. It creates space for community discussion and debate, fostering the kind of collaborative interpretation that has kept Bloodborne's community active years after release. Most importantly, it mirrors the cosmic horror principle that ultimate reality remains fundamentally incomprehensible to human consciousness. Even when we achieve transcendence and become an infant great one, we don't gain complete understanding. We simply access a different level of cosmic mystery that remains partially opaque to our transformed awareness. The multiple pale blood theory, perhaps the most satisfying approach to understanding pale blood, involves accepting that it represents different things at different times and for different seekers, rather than searching for a single correct interpretation. We might consider that pale blood manifests differently depending on the context in which it's encountered and the needs of those who seek it. For the hunter suffering from an unknown ailment, pale blood might represent the medical cure they desperately need. A form of blood that can heal without the corrupting side effects that characterize other treatments available in Yharnam. Their quest becomes a medical pilgrimage, seeking the perfect medicine. For the scholar seeking cosmic enlightenment, pale blood might represent the pure knowledge necessary to achieve transcendence without madness, insight that has been refined until it no longer carries the corrupting influences that destroy lesser minds. Their quest becomes an intellectual journey toward perfect understanding. For the mystic seeking spiritual transformation, pale blood might represent the sacred essence that enables union with divine consciousness, a holy substance that allows communion with cosmic entities without loss of essential humanity. Their quest becomes a spiritual pilgrimage toward perfect purity. For the warrior seeking to end the hunt, pale blood might represent the weapon or power necessary to confront the cosmic forces perpetuating the cycle of violence, strength that can match great one power without becoming corrupted by it. Their quest becomes a heroic journey toward perfect justice. Each interpretation contains truth while remaining incomplete. Pale blood accommodates all these readings because it represents something more fundamental than any single category can contain. The principle of successful transcendence itself, manifesting in whatever form the seeker most needs to achieve their cosmic destiny. The cyclical nature. Understanding pale blood also requires recognizing the cyclical nature of Bloodborne's narrative structure. The game begins and ends with transcendence. We start by being transformed through blood ministration and potentially end by transforming into a great one. The hunt itself represents the middle phase of this cycle, the process through which initial transformation develops into complete transcendence. This cyclical structure suggests that pale blood might represent not a destination, but a process, the ongoing cycle of purification, corruption, and renewal that defines existence in Bloodborne's universe. The pale color associated with it might indicate not emptiness, but potential, the blank state from which all transformation becomes possible. The blood moon that appears after Rome's defeat initiates a new phase in this cycle, revealing cosmic influences that were previously hidden and enabling transformations that were previously impossible. The hunter who successfully navigates this revealed reality demonstrates mastery of the cyclical process, earning the right to either escape the cycle or take responsibility for guiding others through it. The three possible endings reflect different relationships to this cycle. Accepting G-Man's mercy allows escape from the cycle, returning to the waking world with enough knowledge to live differently, but not enough to fundamentally alter cosmic reality. Replacing G-Man means accepting responsibility for guiding others through the cycle, maintaining the systems that enable transcendence while remaining personally bound to the process. Transcending into a great one represents mastery of the cycle, achieving a position from which the process can be observed and influenced from a cosmic perspective. In this reading, seeking pale blood means learning to work with the cycle rather than against it, understanding that transcendence requires accepting temporary corruption as part of the purification process. The hunter who achieves pale blood has learned to maintain their essential nature while allowing cosmic forces to transform them, riding the cycle toward transcendence rather than being destroyed by it. The environmental storytelling. Bloodborne's environmental design provides subtle but important clues about pale blood's nature through the visual language of color, light, and architectural symbolism. Understanding these environmental cues adds another layer to our interpretation of what pale blood represents. The predominant color palette of Yharnam emphasizes browns, grays, and deep reds. The colors of earth, stone, and blood. These colors create an atmosphere of weight, corruption, and organic decay that reflects the city's spiritual condition. Against this backdrop, pale colors stand out as representing something fundamentally different from the prevailing corruption. The hunter's dream introduces pale colors through the white flowers that carpet its landscape and the doll's porcelain complexion. These pale elements create visual contrast with the nightmare landscapes we encounter elsewhere, suggesting that paleness represents purity, peace, and beneficial transformation rather than corruption and violence. The transformation of Yharnam's sky from dark night to pale, bloodless expanse after Ram's defeat creates the most dramatic environmental representation of what pale blood might represent. The sky's pale color suggests not death, but revelation. The removal of concealing darkness to reveal underlying cosmic reality. The architectural progression from Yharnam's Gothic buildings to the alien geometries encountered in nightmare dimensions reflects the journey from human to cosmic consciousness that seeking pale blood entails. Each environment we traverse represents a different stage in this progression, with paleness appearing most prominently in spaces that facilitate beneficial transformation rather than corruption. The lighting design throughout the game uses pale illumination to highlight moments of transcendence or revelation. The soft light surrounding the doll, the pale glow of insight-granting items, and the ethereal illumination of cosmic entities all use paleness to signify enlightenment rather than corruption. These environmental cues suggest that pale blood represents not a specific substance, but a quality of existence, a way of being that transcends the corruption and decay that characterize most of Bloodborne's world. The hunter who achieves pale blood has learned to embody this quality, becoming a source of pale light in a world dominated by crimson corruption. The linguistic analysis, examining the specific language used to describe pale blood throughout the game, reveals subtle but important patterns that illuminate its true nature. choice of words, their cultural associations, and their relationship to other terminology in the game create a linguistic framework that suggests specific interpretations. The term pale carries multiple associations in English and other languages that influence how we interpret pale blood's significance. Paleness can suggest illness and weakness, as in a pale complexion, indicating poor health. But it can also suggest purity and transcendence, as in pale light that illuminates without corrupting, or pale beauty that transcends ordinary physical appeal. The combination of pale with blood creates a linguistic paradox that mirrors the conceptual mystery surrounding the substance. Blood is typically associated with redness, vitality, and life force. Pale blood suggests blood that has been drained of its normal characteristics while retaining its essential function, a paradox that points toward transcendence of normal biological limitations. The phrase "seek pale blood to transcend the hunt" uses specific verb choices that illuminate the relationship between seeker and sought. Seek implies active pursuit rather than passive reception, suggesting that pale blood must be earned through effort rather than simply discovered. Transcend implies movement beyond current limitations rather than simple escape, indicating that the goal involves fundamental transformation rather than mere survival. The capitalization of pale blood in most references suggests that it represents a proper noun, a specific entity or concept rather than a general category. This linguistic treatment aligns with interpretations that identify pale blood with the moon presence or other specific cosmic entities rather than viewing it as a general type of substance. The consistent lack of articles "the" or before pale blood in most references creates a sense of uniqueness and specificity. We don't seek a pale blood or the pale blood, but simply pale blood, suggesting that it represents something singular and absolute rather than one example of a larger category. The mythological resonance. Pale blood's symbolic significance gains additional depth when viewed through the lens of mythological and religious traditions that use similar imagery to represent transcendence, purification, and divine communication. Understanding these resonances helps illuminate what Miyazaki and his team might have intended to convey through their choice of terminology. Many mythological traditions associate pale colors with death and rebirth. The pale horse of the apocalypse, the pale complexion of underworld deities, the pale light of dawn that signals the death of night and birth of day. Pale blood might represent this kind of transformative death, the ending of human limitation that enables cosmic transcendence. Religious traditions often use blood imagery to represent sacrifice, communion, and transformation. The Christian Eucharist, ancient blood sacrifice rituals, and shamanic traditions all employ blood symbolism to represent the exchange between mortal and divine realms. Pale blood might represent the perfected form of such exchange. Blood that facilitates divine communion without the corruption or violence that characterizes Crutter attempts. Alchemical traditions, which heavily influence Bloodborne's symbolic vocabulary, use pale or white imagery to represent the final stage of transformation, the achievement of perfect purity after the dissolution and reconstitution of base materials. In this context, Power Blood represents the successful completion of the great work, the transformation of human consciousness into divine awareness. Celtic and other European mythologies associate pale figures with otherworldly beings who exist at the boundary between mortal and divine realms. These pale entities often serve as guides or guardians who help mortals navigate the transition between different levels of reality. The doll's pale complexion and her role as guide and protector align with this mythological pattern. Eastern philosophical traditions use similar imagery to represent the achievement of enlightenment. The pale light of perfect understanding that illuminates without attachment. The colorless state that contains all possibilities. Pale blood might represent this kind of spiritual achievement, adapted to Bloodborne's cosmic horror framework. The scientific speculation. While Bloodborne operates primarily through symbolic and mythological logic, rather than scientific realism, examining pale blood through the lens of actual blood science and medical knowledge provides interesting insights into what the concept might represent in more literal terms. From a medical perspective, pale blood could indicate several conditions that might be relevant to understanding the hunter's quest. Anemia, characterized by reduced red blood cell count or hemoglobin levels, creates blood that appears pale and fails to carry oxygen effectively. The hunter's search for pale blood might represent a quest to cure this condition through supernatural means. Alternatively, pale blood might represent blood that has been processed or refined to remove normal cellular components while retaining essential properties. Modern medical procedures like plasma exchange remove cellular elements from blood while preserving its liquid component and dissolved substances. Pale blood might represent the ultimate refinement of this process, creating blood that retains beneficial properties while eliminating corrupting elements. The game's emphasis on blood as a carrier of consciousness and memory aligns with emerging neuroscientific understanding of how blood chemistry affects mental states. Pale blood might represent blood with an optimized chemical composition that enhances cognitive function and spiritual awareness while eliminating the psychological disturbances that characterize exposure to the old blood. From a genetic perspective, pale blood might represent blood carrying specific genetic markers that enable successful interaction with cosmic entities. The hunter's apparent immunity to complete beast transformation suggests they possess genetic characteristics that most humans lack, possibly inherited from ancient bloodlines with previous cosmic exposure. The concept of blood as information carrier, explicitly stated in the game's law about blood echoes and old blood, align with actual biological functions of blood as a communication medium between different organ systems. Pale blood might represent blood that carries pure information, uncorrupted by the chaotic data that characterizes cosmic entity influence. The technological metaphor viewing pale blood through the lens of information technology and systems theory provides another perspective on its function within Bloodborne's narrative framework. This approach treats blood as a biological information system and pale blood as representing optimized information processing capabilities. In this interpretation, the old blood functions like corrupted data that crashes biological systems when processed by unprepared minds. The beast transformation represents system failure caused by attempting to process information that exceeds the system's capacity or contains malicious code designed to subvert normal operations. Pale blood represents cleaned, optimized data that can be processed safely by properly prepared systems. The hunter's gradual accumulation of insight parallels the process of upgrading system capacity and installing better security measures to handle increasingly complex and potentially dangerous information. The hunter's dream functions as a virtual environment designed to safely test and develop enhanced information processing capabilities. The doll serves as a user interface that allows safe interaction with cosmic data streams, translating incomprehensible cosmic information into forms that human consciousness can process beneficially. The umbilical cords required for transcendence represent system patches or upgrades that enable processing of previously incompatible data formats. Each cord adds new capabilities to the hunter's consciousness, gradually building toward full compatibility with cosmic information systems. The final confrontation with the moon presence represents a compatibility test. The cosmic entity attempts to determine whether the hunter's upgraded consciousness can function as part of its larger information network without compromising system integrity. Success results in integration as a new node in the cosmic network. Failure results in system termination or forced reboot. This technological metaphor suggests that pale blood represents not a substance, but a state of optimal information processing, consciousness that can safely interface with cosmic data streams while maintaining essential functionality and autonomy. The artistic intent. Understanding pale blood also requires considering Miyazaki's artistic philosophy and his stated goals for creating narratives that encourage player interpretation and emotional investment. The deliberate ambiguity surrounding pale blood serves specific artistic functions that enhance the overall player experience. Miyazaki has frequently discussed his inspiration from reading English books as a child, filling in gaps in his understanding with imagination, and creating personal narratives from incomplete information. This experience directly influences his approach to game storytelling, where missing information becomes space for player creativity rather than narrative failure. Pale Blood exemplifies this philosophy by serving as a central mystery that provides just enough information to enable meaningful speculation, while withholding enough details to require imaginative interpretation. Players must actively engage with the narrative, drawing connections and developing theories, rather than passively consuming predetermined meanings. The emotional investment required to decode Pale Blood's significance creates a personal connection between player and story that would be impossible if the mystery were explicitly resolved. Each player's interpretation becomes part of their individual relationship with the game, making their experience unique and personally meaningful. The ongoing community discussions about Pale Blood's nature demonstrate the social dimension of this artistic approach. Players share interpretations, debate evidence, and collectively explore possibilities in ways that extend the game's narrative impact far beyond the individual play experience. The mystery becomes a catalyst for community formation and collaborative interpretation. The multiple valid interpretations of Pale Blood reflect Miyazaki's understanding that different players bring different needs, backgrounds, and perspectives to their gaming experience. Rather than forcing a single interpretation on all players, the ambiguous nature of Pale Blood allows each player to find the meaning that resonates most strongly with their individual journey through cosmic horror. The cultural impact. Pale Blood's influence extends beyond Bloodborne itself, becoming a cultural touchstone within the broader gaming community and influencing how players approach narrative mysteries in other games. Understanding this cultural impact illuminates the success of Miyazaki's artistic approach. The term Pale Blood Hunt has entered gaming vocabulary as a description for the kind of deep collaborative analysis that Bloodborne's community represents. Players approaching mysteries in other games often reference the Pale Blood Hunt as an example of how community effort can uncover meanings that individual analysis might miss. The scholarly essays and video analyses inspired by Pale Blood's mystery have elevated gaming discourse, demonstrating that video game narratives can support the kind of serious critical analysis typically reserved for literature and film. Academic papers examining Bloodborne's themes now appear in peer-reviewed journals, legitimizing video games as objects worthy of scholarly attention. The interpretive methodologies developed by Bloodborne's community, close reading of item descriptions, environmental analysis, mythological comparison, and collaborative theory development have become standard approaches for analyzing from software games and other narratively complex titles. The patience and persistence required to decode Paleblood's significance have influenced player expectations and behaviors, creating audiences more willing to engage with ambiguous or incomplete narratives. Players now actively seek games that require interpretive effort rather than consuming only titles that provide explicit narrative closure. The success of Paleblood as a narrative element has influenced game developers to experiment with similar approaches to storytelling, creating more games that prioritize mystery and interpretation over explicit exposition. The gaming industry has recognized that player investment increases when narratives require active engagement rather than passive consumption. The philosophical implications Paleblood's role in Bloodborne raises fundamental questions about the nature of reality, consciousness, and transcendence that extend beyond gaming into philosophical territory. Examining these implications reveals the depth of thought underlying the game's seemingly straightforward monster hunting premise. The quest for Paleblood embodies classic philosophical questions about the relationship between knowledge and being. Does seeking cosmic understanding fundamentally change what we are? Or does it reveal what we were always capable of becoming? The hunter's transformation suggests that consciousness itself might be more malleable and expandable than normal human experience indicates. The cosmic horror framework raises questions about the nature of reality and our ability to perceive it accurately. If cosmic entities exist beyond our normal perception, what other aspects of reality might we be missing? The revelation of previously invisible amygdalae suggests that our understanding of the world is fundamentally incomplete and possibly illusory. The multiple possible endings reflect different philosophical approaches to transcendence and responsibility. Accepting German's mercy represents the position that some knowledge is too dangerous for individual consciousness to bear. Replacing G-Man suggests that knowledge brings responsibility for helping others navigate similar challenges. Transcending into a great one implies that ultimate understanding requires abandoning human limitations entirely. The theme of pregnancy and failed reproduction among great ones raises questions about the purpose and meaning of existence at cosmic scales. If even godlike entities struggle with loss, loneliness, and the desire for connection, what does this suggest about the fundamental nature of consciousness itself? The purification process implied by Paleblood's pale color suggests that spiritual development requires removing corrupting influences rather than simply adding new capabilities. This aligns with various philosophical traditions that treat enlightenment as uncovering essential nature rather than acquiring external knowledge. The personal journey. Ultimately, Each player's encounter with pale blood becomes a personal journey of discovery that extends beyond the game itself. The process of seeking, analyzing, and interpreting this central mystery mirrors real-world processes of personal growth, intellectual development, and spiritual exploration. The patience required to decode Bloodborne's mysteries teaches valuable skills in careful observation, critical thinking, and collaborative analysis. Players learn to examine evidence carefully, consider multiple interpretations, and engage respectfully with alternative viewpoints, skills that prove valuable in academic, professional, and personal contexts. The emotional investment required to care about pale blood's significance demonstrates the power of mystery and ambiguity to create meaningful engagement. Players discover that incomplete information can be more compelling than explicit explanation, that questions can be more valuable than answers. The community connections formed through shared analysis of pale blood create lasting relationships based on intellectual collaboration and mutual respect. Players learn that complex problems often require diverse perspectives, and that individual understanding benefits from community engagement. The persistence required to continue seeking, understanding despite ongoing ambiguity, builds tolerance for uncertainty and comfort with incomplete knowledge. Players develop the ability to act meaningfully, even when complete understanding remains elusive. A skill essential for navigating real-world complexity. The recognition that multiple valid interpretations can coexist teaches important lessons about perspective, humility, and the nature of truth itself. Players learn to hold their own interpretations lightly while respecting the validity of alternative approaches. The enduring mystery. As we conclude this comprehensive analysis, we must acknowledge that pale blood's true nature remains as mysterious as when we began our investigation. Despite examining every reference, analyzing every connection, and exploring every possible interpretation, the central mystery persists, and perhaps it should. The ongoing vitality of discussions about pale blood nearly a decade after Bloodborne's release demonstrates the success of Miyazaki's artistic approach. A mystery that could be definitively solved would lose its power to inspire continued engagement and interpretation. By remaining partially opaque, pale blood continues to generate new insights and perspectives as players bring fresh approaches to its analysis. The multiple valid interpretations we've explored, from literal substance to spiritual state, from cosmic entity to purification process, demonstrate that pale blood succeeds as a narrative element precisely because it resists singular definition. It serves simultaneously as plot device, thematic symbol, philosophical concept, and personal metaphor. The journey of seeking pale blood, whether undertaken by the hunter within the game or by players analyzing its significance, represents the broader human quest for meaning, understanding, and transcendence. The fact that this quest never reaches final completion doesn't diminish its value. Rather, it emphasizes that the seeking itself transforms the seeker. In our own world, we face mysteries as profound and elusive as pale blood. Questions about consciousness, reality, purpose, and transcendence that resist easy answers despite centuries of investigation. Bloodborne's central mystery serves as a metaphor for these real-world enigmas, teaching us that the value lies not in solving the mystery, but in allowing it to transform us through the process of sincere seeking. The hunter who seeks pale blood undergoes trials that strip away illusions, confront fears, and demand choices that reveal essential character. Similarly, players who engage deeply with pale blood's mystery undergo intellectual and emotional challenges that can lead to genuine personal growth and expanded understanding. Perhaps this is pale blood's ultimate truth. It represents whatever we most need to transcend our current limitations and achieve our full potential. For the sick, it offers healing. For the ignorant, it provides knowledge. For the corrupt, it enables purification. For the mortal, it opens pathways to transcendence. The pale color that gives pale blood its name might represent not emptiness, but infinite potential. The blank canvas on which consciousness can paint new realities. The purified state from which all transformation becomes possible. In seeking pale blood, we seek the pure essence of ourselves, stripped of corruption and limitation, ready to engage with cosmic reality without losing what makes us fundamentally human. Final reflection. The true identity of the pale blood cannot be captured in any single analysis, no matter how comprehensive. It exists in the space between interpretations, in the dialogue between perspectives, in the ongoing conversation between creator and community. It thrives in uncertainty, grows through speculation, and achieves its ultimate purpose by inspiring seekers to embark on journeys of discovery that transform them in the process. Whether pale blood represents the moon presence, purified blood, cosmic enlightenment, or some synthesis of all these interpretations, its true significance lies in its function as a catalyst for transformation. The hunter who seeks it successfully achieves transcendence, not because they find a specific substance or entity, but because the sincere pursuit of ultimate truth inevitably leads to fundamental change. In the end, we are all hunters seeking our own version of pale blood, that elusive essence that promises to heal our ailments, answer our questions, and enable us to transcend our limitations. Bloodborne suggests that such seeking is both necessary and eternal, that the quest for transcendence defines the human condition in a universe filled with mysteries we can barely comprehend. The note that begins our journey reads, "Simply seek pale blood to transcend the hunt. Perhaps the deepest truth is that in seeking, we have already begun to transcend. In questioning, we have already started to understand. In facing the mystery with courage and curiosity, we have already achieved a form of the pale blood state, the pure receptivity to truth that enables genuine transformation. May your own hunt for meaning and understanding prove as rewarding as the journey through Yharnam's nightmare streets. May you find the courage to seek what seems impossible to achieve, and may that seeking transform you in ways you cannot yet imagine. The hunt never truly ends, but perhaps that's exactly as it should be. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into one of gaming's most enduring mysteries. If this analysis has enriched your understanding of Bloodborne, or inspired you to view the game's central mystery from new perspectives, please like and subscribe for more explorations of video game lore.